Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajakacarya Stotra Shata Shishimadaisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajakacarya Stotra Shata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Shri Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Namachaya Shila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Radha Krishna Kupa Govindha Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mathura Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Tulasi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the Same Devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Same Devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading from 2.7.48, second canto, 7th chapter, verse number 48. We're going to get that up and then we can start.
Are you going to cast it?
If you can cast it, it's better. So, here we go. Sadhyam niyamya yatayo yama karta hetim jayuhu swarad iva nipana kanitram indraha. So how do I do this verse here? Just Sadhyanyamya yatayo yamakarta heting Jayu swaradiya nipana kanitramidraha. Jayu swaradiya nipana kanitramindraha. Sadhyanyamya yatayo yamakarta hetim Jahyu swaradiva nipana kanitramindraha. Sandhyanyamya yatayo yamakarta hetim Jahyu swaradiva nipana kantiram indraha. Anyone else? Mataji's? Sadhyak, artificial mental speculation or meditation. Niyamya, controlling. Yatayaha, the mystics. Yamakarta hetim, the process of spiritual culture. Jayuhu, are given up. Swarat, fully independent. Eva, as. Nipana, well. Kantiram, kanitram, trouble for digging. Indraha, the controlling demigod supplying rains. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: in such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation or meditation, as performed by the jnanis and yogis. one gives us such processes as the heavenly king Indra forgoes the trouble to dig a well. A poor man in want of water digs a well and undertakes the trouble of digging. Similarly, those who are poor in transcendental realization speculate on the mind or meditate by controlling the senses. But they do not know that such control of senses and achievement of spiritual perfections are simultaneously made possible as soon as one is factually engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Person, the personality of Godhead. It is for this reason that the great liberated souls also desire to be associated with hearing and chanting the activities of the Lord. The example Indra is very appropriate in this connection. King Indra of heaven is the controlling deity or demigod for arraying clouds and supplying rain in the universe. And as such, he does not have to take the trouble to dig a well for his personal water supply. For him, digging a well for a water supply is simply ludicrous. Similarly, those who are factually engaged in the loving service of the Lord have attained the ultimate goal of life. And for them, there is no need of mental speculation to find out the true nature of God or His activities. Nor do such devotees have to meditate upon the imaginary or real identity of the Lord, because they are factually engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord's pure devotees have already achieved the results of mental speculation and meditation. The real perfection of life is therefore to be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Om Jnana Tivrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadagalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagar Sadam Sagar Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitansha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavandhu Jagarute Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Sri Shivane Sute Devi Pranamami Harive Vancha Kalpatarvesha Kripa Sindhu Bhya Vacha Patita Nam Pavane Bhyo Vishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prachani Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Is that Vishnu Chitra Prabhu? Is that the garland from Maharaj? No, it's okay. All right, so here, as was being discussed yesterday, how the person on the platform of Brahman existence, this platform of Brahman, this platform of this Brahma Bhuta stage, starts to experience unlimited bliss. It was described yesterday. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the supreme enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He's eternally void of all disturbances and is fearless. He's completely conscious and opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinction. He's principal, primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitful activities, and whom the illusory energy does not stand. So that verse, you could take that verse and easily apply it in an impersonal way. I mean, that ultimately God doesn't have a personality, and he's ultimately just unlimited bliss, unlimited knowledge, and existence. He's just existence. Ultimately, and on that platform only can you start to, that is the absolute Brahman platform. Because it's very easy to take the Sanskrit that is being used here and completely take out the personality himself, Krishna, and put forward the idea that this is completely impersonal, that everybody ultimately comes to this platform of being the supreme person. So in the next verse, the one that we are up to here, in such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation, as performed by jnanis and yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra foregoes the trouble to dig a well. But the Bhagavatam is very clear and very quick to make the distinction that actually this is not a process of jnana. This impersonal realization, neti neti, by which the jnanis come to a level of realization, Prabhupada says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is because the realization itself of the jnanis are imperfect, the process is also imperfect actually. Prabhupada mentions that in 1.2.12, where he starts to discuss the four different types of human beings. What are these 4 different types of human beings Prabhupada describes? The karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the bhakta. So this says these are the 4 classes, 4 different types of human beings. As first class being the devotee. And second class, partial realization, which is the jnanis. And third class, who have barely realized the focus of the absolute person. So here, it specifically refers to jnanis and yogis, whereas the karmis, they're just on the platform of material enjoyment. So the jnanis and yogis, those who have come to some level of understanding that I should refrain from this world, but they have not come to a point of complete realization. There's a very big distinction made here in the Srimad Bhagavatam of that as performed, there is no need for artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation as performed by the jnanis and yogis. So there's a very clear distinction is being made that there is the bhakta who does not do such things. That means if one is situated on the platform of his original self, there is no need of anything else. Just like the example is being given here that Indra does not need to go and dig a well because he is the supplier of rain. He is the god of rain. He supplies that. You could say in one sense he's the source of that. So he does not require that. So if one is on the platform of his original state, in which the Srimad Bhagavatam here describes as the topmost state, the bhakta, then there is no need of control of the mind. There's no need of speculation. There's no neti, maybe this, maybe that. There's no need of meditation. Because meditation is meant to bring one up to the platform of his proper self, this Brahmabhuta Prasanatmana Sochati Nakangshati. So meditation is that process by which one controls the mind, but the devotees on the platform of spiritual existence in that transcendental state, for them their mind is not material. Mind is it's transformed. It has become spiritualized. So these jnanis, they undergo a great deal of trouble. Just like yesterday, jnani is meant to be one who is knowledgeable. And the person who we were talking to yesterday was not very knowledgeable. He was a Mayavadi. But these people, they have no idea. And so when you ask him even the definition of Brahman, what is Brahman? They can't even define it. But they don't want to define it because if they do define it, their whole philosophy becomes completely useless. It doesn't make sense anymore. Like we were arguing with this person yesterday, saying, okay, Brahman is Satchit Ananda. What is Sat? Well, first he was saying Brahman just exists. There's no you, everything, there is nothing. There is no observer, there is nothing. Practically they can't apply it. Because they just run into a block at every argument they make, they run into a block because without the conception I, you can't even make an argument. So any argument you make is based on the observer. And who's the observer? Well, the observer is Brahman. What is Brahman? It's just is. It's just existence. And so you ask them, okay, Satchit Ananda, then why is there knowledge? There is knowledge and there is Ananda. What is the Ananda for? If there is nothing, why is there Ananda? Why is there bliss? We don't know. They don't want to discuss that part of it. What is experiencing Ananda then if there is nothing? If there is no observer, there is nothing, then what is experiencing Ananda? They do not know that. What is this knowledge? The knowledge. If there is knowledge, why is there Maya? Where is the ignorance? We can't say that. We don't know why that. Ultimately, he's like, actually you're using this chid as all knowledge, but actually Sanskrit words, you can change it to mean, it's English word can't define it properly. It can also mean no ignorance. You fool, that means it's at the platform of full knowledge, realized. But they want to use world jaggery to get around that, because if they make that point that Brahman is full of knowledge, then they cannot understand how Maya comes in. Because of their process of neti, not this, not this. So we simply told them, then accept Shastra, accept as it is, accept the personality of God. No, we do not want to do that. Why? Just because this is my philosophy and I have to stick with it. He even admitted, yeah, I'm smashed. You completely defeated me, but I won't accept it. So for those such people on the process of jnana, they can never come to it's very difficult, especially the Mayavadis, those who've concluded already the nature of that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is just Brahman, the just light, or just existence. They can never come to this platform of bhakti. And therefore they struggle so hard to control their mind and control their senses, and they, like you're saying, I experienced it once. Okay, great. We're experiencing it every day. We're experiencing it every day. We're experiencing this loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead every day. You experience it once or twice here. What is that experience? Your experience, anyways, your experience can be false if it's not based on proper knowledge. Because your knowledge completely falls apart when one even starts to pick at it. I told him, I'm not even using Shastra yet, I'm just using logic. We haven't even started diving into Vedanta, the statements of the Bhagavatam, statements of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not even a learned scholar. I'm just talking to you on the principles of logic. And but you can't put Brahman in logic, but you should, some definition has to be there. So the jnanis on the platform of the mind, they just travel. It's just speculation. So they never come to actually a proper conclusion or a proper understanding of the absolute truth, because they themselves, the path itself is imperfect. That realization is partial realization. So therefore Prabhupada comments here that as Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the absolute truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, the paths of jnana and yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the absolute truth. So Prabhupada makes a very important point that in these two paths of jnana and yoga, just like Krishna says, on this path there is no loss and diminution, but on the path of jnana and yoga there is. So bhakti is very distinct. We can see bhakti is very distinct. You start to see why bhakti is the path of perfection, because the process itself is the goal. The process and the goal of bhakti are non-different. The fact that you're performing devotional service is also the goal of devotional service. It is non-different. Whereas the process of jnana and yoga, the process and the goal are very two different things. You perform meditation to attain a particular state, which is different from those activities that you're doing. So bhakti is on a much higher platform than both of these, and it grants one full realization. Therefore, even the process itself is completely perfect. So this is the verse that comes in the second chapter. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to quote the Sanskrit. So the serious inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes the absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. So this is a very important point, that the jnanis and the yogis, they're greatly dependent upon their own minds to be able to come to knowledge, to be able to come to a platform of realization. Whereas the bhaktas, we do not depend on our minds, we do not depend on our senses, we do not depend on our, you could say, ability to perform meditation. We do not depend upon these things because they are fallible. Just like the process of thinking itself, the ability to think for the living entity, also over time, it degrades. as you get older. It's more difficult to grasp certain concepts. As a yogi, to perform difficult asanas and all this, it becomes more difficult, I guess, as one gets older. And in this age, what to speak of all these processes is practically impossible. So for the bhakta, the bhakta is not dependent on all these processes. These are external processes of the body, actually, to a great extent. Whereas devotional service is completely, as Prabhupada describes it many times, independent of one's material situation, whether he be in a crippled body, whether he be in a very beautiful body, whether he be poor, rich, child, old. It is completely independent of all these things. Therefore, the platform of bhakti can grant anyone perfect realization. So here Prabhupada gives a few, the verse itself gives the qualification of that devotional service. Just like in this verse here that we're discussing today, there's no artificial speculation and meditation. There's as performed by the jnanis and yogis. So what is there? What is there for the devotee? Well, the devotee, as this is describing here, he realizes the absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. So according to what he has heard from Vedanta Shruti, and where do we get this from? We get this primarily from the spiritual master. Coming in that disciplic succession, as Shukadeva Goswami is also describing the Srimad Bhagavatam, as Sutta Goswami describes it, as our great acharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vinod, and obviously Srila Prabhupada, and then our own spiritual master. So the devotee starts to perfect his realization by following, simply by hearing Shruti. By starting to hear about the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by hearing about the performance of devotional service, by hearing about other great devotees. So by doing this, he comes to full knowledge because he accepts that which is infallible, that knowledge which is infallible, which is not subjected to one's own mind. Just like this person I was discussing here, he may have one experience, but then another. What is to say that somebody else's experience is not as valid as his experience or greater than his experience? Who is to judge that? You can judge that. No, you cannot judge that. There's an absolute platform that teaches us that, and that comes from Shastra, and we have to accept that. So, Prabhupada mentions a few important things in here. That devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge, combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the serious inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. So it's very important that devotional service, although we are not jnanis, it is performed with knowledge. It is not performed on the level of sentiment. It is very important to understand. We are not sentimental. It's like jnanis say that the bhakti yogis, they're very sentimental. It's just a feeling only. No, but actually bhakti, it is based on a great deal of knowledge. It is proper jnana applied. It is applied jnana. It is vijnana. It gives us vijnana. So this devotional service, which is based on full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and is fixed by oral reception of Vedanta Shruti, is the only method by which serious inquisitive students can realize the absolute truth. So this detachment, jnana and vairagya, knowledge and detachment, and that knowledge and detachment being centered around the reception of Vedanta Shruti. That we're not falsely giving up things. Detachment can mean, you're letting go, but we do not falsely let go. Why? Why do we not falsely let go? How do we understand that we should not just like renounce and go to the forest as brahmacharis, or as people who have become, we have come to the path of devotional service, because we understand there's detachment. But why don't we not just renounce everything? Why is it that we're in this temple room? Why is it that we have so many vehicles? Why is that I've got this computer on me? Why is it that we carry so many iPhones and all this? It's of the material world. It's Ugra Karma society. Why is it that there's just not detachment straight up? Just drop everything. Why not? Yukta Vairagya. But where do we learn that? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We learn it from our Acharya by hearing from Rupa Goswami. How one should apply bhakti. It's not that we just detachment and knowledge. Okay, I know what to do. Okay, I have to become detached. But we do that with the center of understanding, okay, what is the Acharyas have teaching us? How is it that they are guiding us? Vedanta Shruti. They are not different from their Bhagavatas. They're the personification of the Bhagavatam. They are the personification of the Vedanta. So we make sure that our knowledge and our detachment, both those things are centered around Shastra. And on that basis, when we perform devotional service, it helps us come to the level of perfect realization. It becomes the perfect method by which understands the absolute truth. He does not have to speculate. He does not have to meditate. He does not have to think maybe like this, maybe like that. He has come to perfect knowledge. So devotional service is not, therefore, meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. Very important point. The bhakti yogis are sometimes seen by the jnanis as less intelligent, actually. But intelligence doesn't just exactly mean the ability to think, the ability to speculate. Intelligence means one is able to see where is the real thing, where is the substance of everything. Just like the Srimad Bhagavatam glorifies those who chant Hare Krishna as the topmost intelligence. They are of the sharpest intelligence. What is this word that's used? Sumedasaha. Of the sharpest intelligence. Oh, you've become so great. You're chanting the holy name of the Lord with the proper conception. You're amongst the highest classes of intelligence in this material world, in the entire creation. But it's not that all of us were very, most of us, it's not like we're super smart in high school, top of our class, or it's not that we were becoming like the greatest president of the United States, or we were building ships, or building we're going to Mars and all that. This is not particularly intelligence. Intelligence means to be able to identify, as knowledge is described, what is matter, what is spirit, and who's the controller of both. So this is intelligence. Whereas the other transcendentalists, the jnanis and yogis primarily, they cannot identify. They may be able to identify one level, what is matter, what is spirit, but then they do not know who's the controller of both. They cannot come to a proper conclusion. So therefore, they are less intelligent. There are 3 classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third. Anyways, Guru Maharaj went through most of that yesterday. So, Srila Prabhupada is describing here that the person who's coming to the platform of devotional service, here, okay. So one of the most important things Srila Prabhupada defines here is that platform of hearing. It all begins by hearing of devotional service, hearing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then going on to perform, associating the devotees, going on to perform devotional service. So here, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the 3 classes of devotees. So a third class devotee therefore has to receive instructions on devotional service from the authoritative sources of the Bhagavata. The number 1 Bhagavata is the established personality of devotee. And the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee therefore has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadeva Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from professional men to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should become very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are, such transcendental matters are not to be received from professional men who spoil them as the serpent spoils the milk, simply by touching of the tongue. So Prabhupada goes on to make this point, a very important point here, the last paragraph. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear from Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana and Pancharatra authorities, the make show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An authorized and unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. So it is not an artificial process. It is not an artificial process of meditation. It is not an imposition upon the mind. One comes to the level of perfection, but the main qualification, the absolute qualification is that one must follow Shruti, Smriti, Purana and Pancharatra. One must follow these things. Without the basis of this, then it does become mental speculation. Then it does become the artificial control of the mind. Therefore, we have to hear the message of the personality of God. We have to hear and read and understand the works of our acharyas through reading and through hearing and through practicing on that basis. So, when one does such a thing, then he does not have to strain himself to perform devotional service. On that path of regulative devotional service, of Vaidhi Bhakti, it becomes spontaneous if one takes that and continues on that path of following the acharyas like that. So, in this particular verse, in the verse that we are describing today, here Prabhupada is mentioning that just as a poor man in want of water digs a well and undertakes the trouble of digging, similarly those who are poor in transcendental realization speculate on the mind or meditate by controlling the senses. But they do not know that such control of senses and achievement of spiritual perfection are simultaneously made possible as soon as one is factually engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Person, the personality of Godhead. And this is not just seen by the jnanis and yogis, it is also seen by the devotees who do not follow this path of following Shastra, following the principles of Shastra. And we can see that. And therefore they have to take some artificial ways to control their senses. And some of them are very much into, we have to do yoga, we have to do pranayama in order to control our mind before we sit down to chant Hare Krishna. We have to do that. We have to do these different things in order to try to keep my devotional service okay. But they start to create these artificial impositions and speculations. They do speculation, deity worship, speculation, the classes or the way they read Srila Prabhupada's books. They use their own speculation to come up with their own ideas. And so, even amongst the devotional society that is there, because a pure following of the Shruti, Smriti and Purana and the Pancharatrika is not there, is being lost. So therefore, devotees are struggling to come to this level of what Prabhupada is describing as they do not know such control of senses and achievement of spiritual perfection are simultaneously made possible as soon as one is factually engaged in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Person. So it is for this reason that great liberated souls also desire to be associated in hearing and chanting the activities of the Lord. So one starts to experience factually the transcendental nature of one's existence, his existence as the servant of the Supreme Personality of God, and his constitutional position when he starts to perform bhakti with the knowledge of all these shastras, on the basis of these shastras. Otherwise, even for the so-called bhakta, it starts to become into speculation, imposition. Therefore, Prabhupada says, in the end of this here, that those who are fully engaged in the loving service of the Lord, having attained the ultimate goal of life, and for them there is no need of mental speculation to find out the true nature of God or His activities. Nor does such devotees have to meditate upon the imaginary or real identity of the Lord. It's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada is saying, the devotee doesn't even have to meditate upon even the real identity of the Lord. You don't have to make up something, but you don't also have to even imagine, okay, I'm thinking like this, I'm trying to see Krishna in my mind. So one doesn't even have to do that. One can do that. One can should do that, can do that, but it is not a requisite because they are factually engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. It just happens naturally. They don't have to put their mind. It's okay, I have to think. Over time, for the devotee, as he becomes purified, it just becomes the nature. So because they are factually engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord's pure devotee have already achieved the results of mental speculation and meditation. The real perfection of life is therefore to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. At that point, meditation is one is just engaged in Krishna service. He completely understands. And on that platform, he starts to experience great levels of ecstasy, great levels of happiness. And so, he does not need to go and, just as Indra doesn't need to go and dig a well, the devotee does not need to do such a thing. There's no need for it. Just like Srila Prabhupada often gives the example, if one has $1 billion, he doesn't have to go and find $10 somewhere else. It's already included within it. He already has everything he needs. So the devotee, he's not so interested in this process of speculation and neti and processes of yoga and all these things. He's completely satisfied in his position as a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performing his devotional service. And although, yes, we may not be great thinkers, yes, I can't memorize so many verses, and I cannot defeat so many great philosophers, and I'm not the most intelligent person in terms of study in this society. But taking the authority of the Bhagavatam, because we are engaged in devotional service, we have come to the platform greater than the yogis. We're trying with the proper conception. We have gone beyond the yogis, gone beyond the karmis and the jnanis. Way beyond. They cannot even start to see the Supreme Personality of God there as the Brahma Samhita. Even at the speed of their mind, they cannot reach even the outer parts of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the devotees, they're able to relish that tulasi which has touched the lotus feet of the Lord every day. They're able to see the Lord every day, serve the Lord every day. They're able to have direct service of the Lord. So it is perfection. It is perfection. And often the example that we give over and over again, as the unripe mango becomes ripe, similarly the bhaktas who are performing this devotion service will similarly, if we stay on the tree, the tree of this devotional service will similarly become ripe. There is no doubt about it. So there is no anxiety, there is no mental speculation, there is no artificial control of the mind, artificial meditation, some imposition upon the mind. I don't have to imagine myself to be some Gopar or Gopi or a tree or whatever in the spiritual world. I don't have to think about all these things. They will naturally come. They are naturally there. So, because we see that devotees, oh yes, I'm a Gopi, I'm a Gopa, and you're a Gopi, and you must meditate upon your, ultimately you have to think about your Gopi form in the spiritual world. We don't have to do this. It's already perfect. We don't have to speculate on what my form may be like, what my... some devotees may know when they come to a level of perfection. But we do not have to speculate. We do not even have to think about that. It's already there. It's already, whatever it is there already. And that's our eternal constitutional position in relationship with Krishna is there already. So simply going and performing service for Krishna with that mindset of complete absorption in performing service for Krishna himself, then if we come to that level of becoming fixed, sthita dhira, then we will never be in anxiety of any situation, whether we're thinking about the future of what might happen, whether the service that we are doing now may be a little bit difficult. All these things, they become, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his songs, that even the trouble that comes when I'm performing your devotional service, oh my Lord, I will take that as great ecstasy. It gives me great bliss to undergo this trouble. Why? Because ultimately we're coming to the spiritual platform. We already had that designation, the process we're performing, and the goal. It's perfect. As long as we have a proper basis, as long as we've taken shelter of the acharyas, it's already perfect. Just follow the process. If everything is going to fail, just follow the instructions. No, if everything fails, everything will fail if you do not follow the instructions. So just simply following the process. Stay simple. We do not have to pose ourselves to be some amazing person, as often has been quoted in these classes. This devotee in Chicago, nobody's gonna, as Guru Maharaj says, and it's been quoted so many times, nobody's gonna say Jai Om Vishnupad when he goes back to the spiritual world. So it's very simple for the simple. We don't have to complicate it like the jnanis. We do not have to complicate the process of devotion service. So we're engaging in this devotion service by performing group distribution, by cleaning the floors, by cooking for the Lord, by doing all these things and becoming completely satisfied in it. And so we should continue to do that and aspire to do that for the rest of our lives. Is there any water? Can you give me some? Sorry. So by doing such things, you start to experience this transcendental state of no anxiety, of no hankering, no lamenting. Thank you. So this is being spoken about in this verse. I don't have much more prepared for this, so I'll open it up for some questions and comments. Is there anything anyone would like to add or comment or question? No?
Well, the verse itself says you have to realize in accordance with Vedanta, and then literally Shruti is said there, and then Prabhupada says that we have to study the Vedic literature, Upanishads, etc. But practically we don't do that. Yeah. So I mean, obviously the Bhagavatam is there, but because you just talk a little on that. Even Prabhupada himself, he didn't study. He said himself he never read the Vedas, but. So
we consider the essence. We just take the essence. We take the essence of the Veda. As also there's Shruti and Smriti, but they're both ultimately coming. They're on the Smriti that is there. That is remembered. It is coming also from authority. So we accept that as on the same level as Shruti and Smriti. So they give us the level, the perfection of it all. There's no need to, as Srila Prabhupada says, even in the issue of Upanishad, that there's no need to waste so much time studying so many Vedic literatures when there's the Srimad Bhagavatam just given. So if one can just come to the platform of understanding as we accept the statement of the Bhagavatam that this is the fruit of all Vedic literatures, this is a desired tree. So we take that and we accept that. And so, because it's the conclusion of Vedanta, Vyasadeva has given it, And so if you study all the Vedas, there's so much, Prabhupada encourages to study different literatures, but as he also said, by studying these books that he has set out is perfection already, because it contains the essence. So that's what I understand. Is that?
It just seems like, I understand in terms of like that, but it just seems like, I mean, obviously Srila Prabhupada coming to the West and his, the Upanishads were already there and they were already studied, but particularly like Vedic study, which has a very, I don't know if historically is the word, but historically, culturally, as a very big part of the whole I mean, you see Srila Prabhupada in his books will refer to the Vedas, Vedic religion, even the term Vedic comes from the Vedas. And all the other works, Puranas, are considered to be extensions of that Shruti, of the Vedas. And like previously, Brahmanas went to such effort, and the culture was there of memorizing the Vedas with the idea of keeping it intact. And of course, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to revive Veda culture, not just Srila Prabhupada, also Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta, etc. like this. But there's, I mean, is that to be, are we to give, because currently more or less not, I don't know any devotees at all that have read the Vedas, like at all, or even converts. Of course, Krishna says in the Gita, but just that kind of aspect of continuing what's there. And
I mean, what I understand is a lot of it is lost, because there's no recitation going on from the Brahmanas, because they're all becoming IT and coming to America. So that's one part of it, and it is like one thing if that Varnashram, when that Varnashram comes together and as time goes by, it should be reestablished. But at the moment, it's just like even to get people to follow the 4 regular principles and chant Hare Krishna, but then to get them to the platform of reading the Vedas is like, it's a little bit distance away for us. So it seems it is an important part of the culture of studying all this, but it has to practically seen also where we're at. Like if we were to do that, how much, like what would we do? If we just studied Vedas, how long does that take? You know, we're already in our 20s, oh my God. You're already in your 20s, 24s, who's going to preach? Who's going to, at least some things we know, who's going to be able to tell that? Even by the small knowledge we know, we can establish devotional service as it is, and we can defeat Mayavad and the different philosophies, and establish devotional service. That's where we're at, and I mean, that's perfection in itself. But eventually we would like to have that, but it doesn't seem so practical right now to have like super core study of the Vedas. I mean, how much, especially for us, how practical is it? You know, and so I mean, one process for us, specifically for us, is to get engaged in devotional service. That's Prabhupada is describing that. So it doesn't seem right now, at least that's why Varnashram should be started, and eventually in time, those Vedic literatures will be revived, and if they're still around, and I'm sure they're somewhere still, and then they can be revived, and then there's Brahmanas who chant that and continue that line. But it just doesn't seem practical right now, at least where we're at. Yeah. Is that kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have anything to add?
So, well, two things. You know, the word Vedas is a very vague term in terms of like what we're referring to. Yeah. So, but even then, right? There's the Brahmanas, there's the Samhitas, there's the Upanishads, and then there's one other part. So there's 4 parts in each Veda, right? And the point generally, we fall under the school of Vedanta, right? So when we read texts and when we use with the word Shruti, in the Vedantic school, when the word Shruti is used, whether it is Advaita Vedanta or Vaishnava Vedanta, right? Both schools refer to Shruti. When they refer to Shruti, they primarily refer to the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. Because to understand, because the specific verse that you are speaking about, you know, how does that begin? Tatshraddha Dana Munayo, Jnana Vairagya. So Jnana, the Jnana section of the Vedas, when it's referring to Shruta Grihitaya, Jnana refers to Upanishads. You don't have jnana in the other sections of the Vedas. You see, so when bhaktya, so jnana vairagya yuktaya, pashyanti atmani chatmanam. So now it is referring directly to cha atmanam, meaning referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Spirit Soul. Pashyanti atmani chatmanam, bhaktya shruta grihitaya. So he learns Shruti, he hears the Shruti and he absorbs it. So this is specifically referring to the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. Because the word jnana is used. There is, jnana is not found in the other sections. Other sections are yajna, other performances of different rituals and this and that. And although the traditional Brahmanas would learn those things, hardly acharyas ever interpreted those things because it is not jnana section. Therefore, why interpret it? And you perform these yajnas for samskaras and for lokamangalam, for the auspiciousness of the world. You have to perform different yajnas, you worship different demigods, this, that, there's so many things. And these chants are, like the Purusha Sukta is not found in the Upanishads. It is found in the Rig Veda. Rig Veda. So Purusha Sukta is found there. Those are chants that you need to know those chants if you have to execute the different yogic processes. The different samskaras and yajnas, and there are different chants that the acharyas choose from different sections of the Vedas. Like Rudram is a chant that is found in the, also I think Rig Veda. But it glorifies specifically Lord Shiva. The Vaishnavas don't chant it. They may learn it as part of just chanting Vedas, but they will not use it in any of their rituals or anything like that because it is not relevant to them. So they chant only Purusha Sukta and Sri Suktam because that refers to Vishnu and Lakshmi. So those chants are irrelevant my point is those chants are irrelevant unless and until the samskaras are performed to such an extent that all the Vedic chants are also included in them. And there is some beginning in this regard. I mean, the Gurukul students, I believe, they learned Purusha Sukta. They learn to chant that and things like that. But, it's a beginning because those rituals and things are very exhaustive. Second thing is, in the past, Brahmanas were supported simply for chanting those things. As long as a Brahmana chanted, he should be supported. He should be given who will support these days? I mean, the Brahmana has to fend for himself. He has to earn how is he going to maintain his family and this and that? In the previous days, the kings would support because they understood that such chanting was auspicious for them, for the kingdom, and for the people also. So that understanding is also not there. So right now, and therefore that's the reason why also, in one sense, the Brahmanas, they've taken IT jobs. In some ways, there is another side to it where there is no support, there is no organization, nothing. And so now we have to establish mutts like this, where we are kind of supporting ourselves and being able to continue. But anyways, getting back to the point that because the word jnana is used, Shruti refers, when you associate it with jnana, it refers to Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. And then because Vedanta Upanishads, then Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, they all, the same thing. So hopefully that answers.
I don't know if it could just be explained to me, like verse that we're discussing, this Chodadana Munayo. So he uses the term Vedanta Shruti, and he doesn't use that very much, and so I'm just kind of like confused about exactly like what that means and I'm just like confused a little bit.
So let me bring up this.
Like what exactly is Vedanta Shruti?
So here,
It says Shruti. Is it Shruta the same? My understanding of Vedanta Sutra is something else.
I mean, my understanding that Vedanta Shruti, hearing from, the word. So what he has heard from in the translation, devotional service of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. So Prabhupada says in in the purport, it says, therefore he be prepared to hear Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities as Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. So Prabhupada just says, stay straight up. And that's so one should read all these. He can be prepared to hear all these things also. So that's what I understand.
This is like a more like direct. Prabhupada has a comment. Prabhupada has a commentary to Chandan-Acharya. He quotes this verse and he says, the words bhaktya shruti grahitya, which is what's being referred to, are very important, for they indicate that bhakti must be based upon the philosophy of the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. So I guess you could take it like Vedanta, you could take it as a Vedanta Sutra, and also like the end of like literally the end, like end of knowledge of the Vedas, end of knowledge, which is Upanishads as well. So Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads is.
See, in simple, right? The Vedanta Shruti, basically what is Vedanta? Vedanta is the summary of the Upanishads. That's why. That's called Vedanta. Actually, Vedanta is not found directly in the Vedas. It is compiled by Vyasadeva. But it's considered Shruti because it's directly, conclusion of the Upanishads. Then you have, why is Bhagavad Gita also considered part of that? Why, I mean, like, although it is in Smriti, although it is in the Mahabharata, why is Bhagavad Gita called Gita Upanishad? Because Chandan-Acharya himself says, this is summary of the Upanishads. Sarvopanishado gavo, Bhokta Gopala Nandanaha. There is that in Gita Mahatmya. Partha Vatsa Sudhir Gopta. Anyways, I forget. So, that analogy is given that Krishna is the milkman, the Upanishads are the cows, and Arjuna is the calf, and the milk is the Bhagavad Gita. So then you have Vedanta. So why do we give importance to Bhagavatam? Because Bhagavatam is commentary of Vyasadeva on Vedanta Sutra. So this is Vedanta Shruti. Okay, Mahotsa has something. You have something to say?
What's just an interesting thing is that Prabhupada makes that point, but then in that translation, in that commentary, Prabhupada also says that, however, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considers such sahajas, because in that purport he says considering sahajas, they don't perform bhakti on the platform of
Shruti Smriti Puranadi.
Yeah, but he says that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considers such sahajas to be more favorable than the impersonalists, who are hopelessly atheistic. So even there, even when it's not before, it's still better than the impersonalists and the Mayavadis and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Pranam. So, I was thinking, 1.2 is that, of course, we understand Jiva Goswami has the Sandarbha writes that in everything that you need to learn in the Vedas and Vedanta and everything is all summarized in two letters, Ha and Ri, Hari. So chanting the holy name for Krishna. And then another point also is that Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Traigunayo Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunyo Bhavajina, Nidvandu Nitistatva, so Yoga Shima Atmavan. That Krishna expects Arjuna to rise above the three modes of material nature, and come to the platform of transcendence, And I was about to quote this same purport that Mitravan Prabhu was quoting in this regard. I think Prabhupada makes it clear in that, that our understanding should be on the basis of this. Of course, even to learn the Vedantas, to read the Vedas, it's going to take you like 13 years to simply learn the Sanskrit grammar. Then what to speak of learning all these things? That passage on Srila Prabhupada is there where, he was with Saraswati and these Chaturvedis, they knew all the four Vedas, they came. And then they asked, Prabhupada asked them, so who is the Supreme? What is the Supreme? They said, well, it's hard to say. Well, some say it's this and some say it's that. We can't really know. And then he asked Saraswati, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And she said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada said, see, she knows more than all of you. Because, these people are so lost. That's why the Mayavadis especially, they're known to be stuck in the Shabda Jala, this network of words.
Yeah.
That they just what do you say, Vishnu?
There's a verse, Shabda Jala Maharanyam.
Yeah, Shabda Jala Maharanya, right? What's the, Who compiled the Chaitanya Chandramrita again?
Chandamrita. Yeah.
Chaitanya,
Prabodhananda Saraswati.
Prabodhananda Saraswati, they're stuck in this this network of words, and then they just just speculate their way to hell, But this point, this point we should understand that ultimately, all this knowledge, is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and like Gokul Chandra Prabhu and Vishnudeva Prabhu, they explained to us in this seminar, the Vaishnava epistemology. We understand also that Bhagavad Gita is a Shruti, Bhagavatam is a Smriti, Bhagavatam is a Nyaya, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is a Smriti. So we understand it from that point of view also. We can also take it like that. Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya, We can also take it from that perspective. Anyway, and also another point, moving on to another section, another part of it, that you were speaking about how some people speak about Swarup and all this stuff, It's just, it happens so much that all these people who speak about Swarup and all this stuff, most of the time just fall down grossly.
Yeah.
And then they think their fallen gross condition is a part of their esoteric bhav.
It's Mayavad. It becomes Mayavad.
Yeah, basically it comes down to that. Like you were saying, you were once talking to a Sahajya, who you knew very well, and he was also basically talking about approaching Krishna without Guru.
Yeah.
That's that's Mayavad. That's gone beyond Sahajyavad at this point.
But I think you were telling me that there's something from either Bhaktisiddhanta or somewhere, he said that when Sahajya becomes mixed with Mayavad very quickly and then becomes Mayavad.
Yeah. That's what happened to so many sampradayas. So anyway.
Yeah, Prabhupada makes that, I think, in this verse again. Okay, yeah, anyways, that's all I have to say also. Anything else? Anything from the Matajis? No. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.